Today we are going to organize a webinar on Lakshadweep issue. On behalf of Muslim Youth League National Committee, I would like to welcome all of our guests, Medha Patkar ji, Member of Parliament from Lakshadweep, Mohammad Faisal Sahab, our National General Secretary Kunali Kutti Sahab, our National Organizing Secretary E.T. Mohammad Bashir Sahab, our National Treasurer P.V. Abdul Wahab Sahab, and newly elected our Member of Parliament Abdul Samad Samdani Sahab, and others. Today, as we all are aware about the Lakshadweep issue, Lakshadweep is a peaceful island. People are happily living there. But since November 2020, there was an appointment of an administrator named Praful Patel as an administrator of Lakshadweep Island, a union territory. I am briefing this that only the Indian Administrative Service Officer can become the administrator of any union territory. But central government breaks all the rule, they overrule the constitution and they appoint Praful Patel as an administrator. And the problem begins. He applied the Gunda Act, where there is no crime. He applied the Gunda Act. He applied the Population Act, where the average population is less than the population of any Chunavi rally, any election rally. Now, any couple who has more than 2 children cannot contest any election. How can it possible? He is going to close the dairy business, which is the main source of income of the Lakshadweep people. Today we are going to discuss all of this. I would like to mention, when Praful Patel was appointed as an administrator, he is still under the investigation of murder case. Today, Muslim Youth League, Youth Wing of Indian Union Muslim League, we hereby declare our stand with the sovereignty of the people of Lakshadweep, because we understand this type of atrocities is the directly attack on the constitution, is directly attack on the people of Lakshadweep. Moreover, it is directly attack on the humanity. We appeal to the central government, we appeal to the President of India, and we request to all over the citizens of the India, please stand with the Lakshadweep. Please save Lakshadweep. Thank you.
The Muslim Youth League of India is organizing a panel discussion resisting the dictator and save the lives of Lakshadweep. We all know some kind of a reform is going ahead in Lakshadweep, which the people of that island doesn't want at all. They are being denied to decide the freedom of what they should eat, how they should live, and all that. How can any free society in our country, in free India, agree to that? So far, they were having their own culture, their own kind of living methods. They saved for their means by fishing, by doing work and going out and fetching things and all that. This administrator who has come now is coming up with reforms which according to him is for good. But actually he is denying their day-to-day life itself, their standard of life itself is interfering with that. Lakshadweep people are very much upset. They were a free society and they were very patriotic people, so far peace-loving people without any external disturbances. They were able to go ahead with their culture, their ways and their means of life, everything. So why should this person, the administrator, all on a sudden coming from some other state, should insist such things? It is actually a dictatorship. It is actually a dictatorship because of some political attitude. He has some political attitude. He has come with that and he is trying to push it up in the island. So we have to do something about it. That is why this panel discussion, all kinds of protests are going ahead and all the political parties are thinking about organizing protests. People should unite against this dictatorship because the dream while this country was ruled by external forces was that we should have our freedom. It is a move against our freedom. It is a move against our constitution. It is a move against our tradition, which the freedom fighters dreamt, which the freedom fighters were thinking, and that is why people say it's a anti-national activity that the administrator is insisting in the island. So I am very much contented. I am very much glad to inaugurate this panel discussion today. And I am also glad that some important people, Mehta Patkar and all our party leaders, Faisal, the MP of Lakshadweep, and our MPs, T. Muhammad Bashir, P.V. Abdullah Haq, Sabadani, Manavali Tangal, Muhammad Abdullah Said, ex-MP Lakshadweep, Dr. Munir, Mani Gandan, Naushad, Abba Muralidharan, Ali Jalil, so many important persons are attending this panel discussion. I am once again say that I am inaugurating this one.
Friends, those who are in the audience, and also the eminent members of the panel, myself as a member of the National Alliance of People's Movements, speaking from the Narmada Valley today, is thankful of the organizers of this program. The Muslim Youth League of India has taken the right initiative to save Lakshadweep. This should be an issue close to everyone's heart, at least those who today in the pandemic time realize the value of the natural resources. And in order to save those and not to face death without even oxygen, it is necessary that we challenge and expose the political policies, laws and assaults which really are killing nature and people. Everyone knows today that the Lakshadweep Island and 70,000 population on those 35 islands is facing hell. That is because the administrator who is appointed after one bureaucrat, Mr. Sharma, is Praful Patel. He is known to us from Maharashtra as an accused, if not in legal way, but accused by the society at large for the suicide committed by the Member of Parliament from Dadra Nagar Haveli, Daman and Diu. And that is the Union Territory which he has been an administrator from. And Mohan Delkar, the MP who committed suicide, was always pro-people and was, as it is accused by his son, harassed by Mr. Praful Patel. Now this Praful Patel is the administrator of the Lakshadweep Islands as well. But his background was one of the Home Minister from Gujarat, and that shows his political linkages. At the time when Amit Shah was the accused in a very serious case, he was appointed by our Prime Minister Narendra Damodar Das Modi. And then he has taken over of Lakshadweep as well. But how is he behaving as an administrator? It's absolutely anti-democratic and anti-environment decisions that he is imposing upon the population of Lakshadweep. He's killing the minimum democracy with no state assembly in Lakshadweep. The single MP from Lakshadweep belonging to NCP party is now a panelist in this panel, which shows that the people's representative is supporting the Save Lakshadweep campaign, and that is because one after another the decisions taken by Mr. Praful Patel is absolutely against law, constitution and also democracy. He has opened up the island even during lockdown for the tourists from outside, and that has resulted in thousands of positive cases of COVID. It is also true that he is going ahead with tourism at any cost. He has brought in the Lakshadweep Development Authority regulation of 2021, which shows that any land in Lakshadweep, any natural resource can be taken over by the government without consulting and without really taking the participation of the PL and the Panchayat Raj as well. That this project is up to. This is being more and more centralized and giving to the limited number of contractors with a condition that 150 crores worth assets must belong to that person who can become a contractor. This is to rule out the local contracts and local contractors and allow the outsiders from the so-called mainland of India to enter and impinge upon the resources and the rights to those of the people of Lakshadweep. Now the quarrying, mining, tourism, without following even environmental laws and without even making the 2013 land acquisition but with fair process of social and environmental impact assessment applicable to Lakshadweep, which should be indeed, that is going to really cause a havoc. It can lead to not only illegal but uncontrolled and unmonitored kind of extraction of resources and destruction of the same. Now this island, which really is a beautiful and bountiful island, and that's why the livelihood of most of its population really depends on the tourism, but people-centered tourism of a kind up till now is being demanding the proper health, proper educational services to the population there. No doubt the population is 95% Muslim, but the issue is not of Hindu versus Muslim. The issue is one of the state and its people relationship that is being raised by the people of Lakshadweep. But this particular dictatorial regime based administrator has created a havoc in a different way. His policies and decisions has led down to has led to closure of the schools. Can you imagine that? It is not giving attention to the fact that there is no health facility beyond primary health centers on 3 of the 10 islands where there is habitation. And even the 3 islands have the worst or the minimum of the medical facilities. Now, in the COVID pandemic, therefore, that should have been the priority. Instead, the priority is to open up the liquor shops, which were stopped not only because Islam opposes it, every Dharma Guru has been opposed, and the Article 47 of Constitution is also promoting prohibition as a directive principle. But instead, this administrator has opened up Lakshadweep to liquor as business, and that is also going to ruin the island. It is also stopping of the meat as the food habit of the Lakshadweep people. And why so? There is no reason for controlling in a democratic framework the eatables and the eating and drinking and dressing culture or tradition of any section of population, which is being opposed by a number of people's representatives and all of us, whole and soul, across India. The same thing is happening in Lakshadweep. But Lakshadweep is an island with habitation that is lacking in vegetables, fruits, pulses, cereals. In such a situation, they have to depend on meat, but the poultry and the animal dairy activities are also being stopped by an unjustifiable decisions and orders imposed by this administrator. All of this is also supported with the Prevention of Antisocial Activities Act that is brought up. Same like Bihar, when the NDA government exists in Bihar in 2021. But this is used as an anti-activism measure all over India and now in Lakshadweep also. And this will lead to catching the activists as terrorists and stopping them from raising questions and challenges. It is really appreciable that the Students' Union and the population of Lakshadweep as a whole is raising its voice and gaining support of a number of politicians like the members of parliament from Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, from Kerala, from Karnataka, in between which these islands really lie in the sea. But the fish workers, farmers, and the common people who are living on arts and crafts are also being sacked of their source of livelihood. So they also have joined this struggle, and we support it because today the central government and the Modi model and paradigm of development that is being pushed may be used by Praful Patel like administrator for gaining lots through tourism, and the other corporates also will get an entry into this beautiful and bountiful and peaceful island. But we as Indians have a duty to support the people's struggle for people's rights, people's democratic participation, and no dictatorial rule either in Lakshadweep or anywhere in India. Hence we support the people of Lakshadweep. Save Lakshadweep, save India. Save democracy, save constitution.
साथियों नमस्कार। लक्षद्वीप में आज जो हो रहा है स्थिति बना है वह देश में और कई ऐसे स्थिति अभी तक देखने को नहीं मिला जो भी यूनियन टेरिटरी है। बट सरकार ने किस तरीके के जो एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन अपॉइंट करने का था वहाँ एक डिक्टेटर को अपॉइंटमेंट किया है। आज तक वहाँ इतिहास है, कोई भी आपने एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर लगाएगा वो IAS ऑफिसर रहता है। पहली बार किसी भाजपा का नेता प्रफुल्ल पटेल को इन लोग ने लगा दिया है। वह ऐसे ऐसे कानून ले आ रहा है, आज तक वहाँ एक भी क्राइम केस ना हो, सुनने तक नहीं मिला इतने साल से। या जाते जाते ही वहाँ गुंडा हाथ लगा दिया, वहाँ संस्कृति को ख़त्म करने लग गया। वहाँ का लोग किस तरीके के मासूम लोग हैं, लोग जी रहा है, उसका जो रूटीन को इन लोग ने टोटल बदलने के लिए जो कोशिश कर रहा है। वहाँ लिकर स्टार्ट कर दिया, वहाँ कभी लिकर का बात ही नहीं चलता था। वहाँ इन लोग ने वहाँ सबसे लोग वहाँ नॉनवेज प्रेफर करते हैं, वो बंद कर दिया। मीन्स कहीं ना कहीं ये सरकार किस तरीके के यहाँ लक्षद्वीप को ख़त्म करने में लगे। शर्म आना चाहिए इस सरकार को। जल्दी से जल्दी आप जो भी प्लान कर रहा है, वहाँ एक संसद है, पॉलिसी मेकर है, आप लोग ने अमेंडमेंट लाया है, जो बदलाव लाया कानून का, तो पॉलिसी मेकर्स के साथ वहाँ का जो इलेक्टेड बॉडी है उनसे डिस्कस करके जो भी चीज़ करना चाहिए। किसी को लूप में नहीं रखा। पहली बार ऐसी पॉलिसी मेकर बिना पॉलिसी इन लोग ने नया पॉलिसी, इनके जो आइडियोलॉजी बीजेपी का जो इनका आइडियोलॉजी के ऊपर इन लोग ने वहाँ का लक्षद्वीप का जो हालत बदलने में लगे हैं, ये शर्मनाक है। जल्दी से जल्दी आप लोग वहाँ पहले जो स्थिति था उसी स्थिति पे आपको छोड़ना चाहिए। और कोई भी एक घर पे 2 बच्चे के ऊपर बच्चा पैदा नहीं होना, वो तीसरी हो गया तो उसके ऊपर अलग तरीके के इन लोग का क्या कार्रवाई करेगा इन लोग ने। मीन कहीं ना कहीं इस नेचर के खिलाफ इन लोग ने जो भी काम कर रहा है ये गलत है। जल्दी से जल्दी वहाँ उस डिक्टेटर को हटा दो। वहाँ हम मासूम लोगों को जो वो लोग जी रहे हैं उससे इनको जीने के लिए छोड़ना चाहिए।
Dear brothers, I am quite happy to associate with this webinar organized by Muslim Youth League National Committee. This is with regard to the recent development in Lakshadweep. You all may be aware of the serious nature of the situation. We all know that the present crisis is the ill-motivated political thinking and action plan mooted by BJP and its newly appointed administrator Praful Patel. I don't want to elaborate it because I know that eminent speakers are going to speak in this, and they may go into the depth of the issue. I need not tell you how bad is the behavior, decision and administration of Praful Patel. Then the media is explaining that even the High Court of Kerala, in their observation they have made, that the situation prevailing in Lakshadweep is really deplorable. This administrator, who had what is called a notorious background, he is widely discussed in this because almost all of his decisions are creating a lot of confusion, unrest and protests among this Lakshadweep inhabitants. The first thing is the certain legislation which is under pipeline now. As per the constitutional provision, once that is published, and they may give a time for placing the objection and anything like that, that's only technical kind of thing. After that, that need not go to the parliament. It need not be placed in the Parliament. In the next notification, that will become law. Legislation, main legislations are, 5 legislations are there. Number 1 is Lakshadweep Development Authority constitution of that authority. And the other one is Lakshadweep's Panchayati Raj Amendment. Panchayat Amendment. Similarly, another one is, third one is Animal Preservation Regulation 2021. Then the fourth one is Lakshadweep Prevention of Anti-Social Atrocities Regulation. And fifth, we will ignore it because it's not pertaining to this. It is about the cooperative sector. If we go to the details of this legislations, once it is passed, it will create a lot of consequences, not only the consequences, a very dangerous situation. With regard to the Development Authority regulation, this empower the administrator to do anything according to his will and pleasure. That may even upset the tendency of the Lakshadweep people. He can acquire, the government can order to go for acquisition of any land that protects that it is for the development. Not only acquisition, they can sell it, they can hand over that. All these kind of things are there. If this is implemented, people will have to go away from the place because it's a small place. Must they take away this land for saying that it is for the industrial purpose or development purpose? They will have no alternative but to go away from the migration may take place in a big way. These kind of things are there. Similarly, if we go to the Panchayat legislation, that also is very dangerous. That is deadly against the spirit of 73rd Constitution Amendment. You all know that this Constitution Amendment is meant for decentralization. One of the best legislation in India has passed with regard to democracy. That was to empower decentralization. By this legislation, administrator, not only administrator, in a panchayat, even executive officer, they all are empowered to do anything quite contrary to the liking and decision of democratically elected bodies like Panchayati Raj. Because the Panchayati Raj system will come under the officers only. That is what is going to happen. And there are some other funny kind of things also, that in the Panchayat elections, persons who are having more than 2 children are disqualified to be a member in the Panchayati Raj system. These kind of things are there. Similarly, with regard to the other kind of things, this animal the protection kind of legislation, there the government is empowered to impose any kind of restriction on food habit, like whether you should eat veg or non-veg, cow, buffalo and all this kind of animals eating, that also can be totally banned. All these kind of things are there in it. Then this antisocial activities regulation, we call it as Gonda, that act. In that case, if you go through that, it is having a what is called very, very cruel kind of thing. They can do anything against innocent people. They can put them behind the bar. They can fabricate the story themselves and put the people into prison. All kind of things are there. Considering your time, I don't want to take much of this thing. So this kind of things are going on. Once it is made, this legislation, bill, act, and then that will be the end of all kind of democratic, and that will hang on the head of the people as a sword of Damocles. That is the thing. And the thing, you all know that temporary workers has been retrenched. Dairy farms are ordered to be closed. In place of that, Amul is coming. And before this, our officer took charge of the post, there was no COVID cases because the other previous officer, he was so clean and very, very positive. So he was doing everything possible for preventing this COVID kind of, spreading the COVID kind of thing, though it was zero. Now because of this guy's very careless work, he liberalized the whole thing. Then because of that, latest figure says that TPR rate is 68% like that. All these kind of things are going on. Even alcohol is allowed now. They say that it's only for big hotels, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star like that. That's only once it is removed, this ban is removed, they can go to any extent. All this and fishermen, they are facing a lot of difficulties. I don't want to take much of time because there is no time for that also. All these kind of things are going on. In the future, another plan in their mind is, now they are enjoying this tribal reservation. They were all, BJP was trying in past to nullify that. This time, after this, they may take it again. That is what they really mean, they desire. All these kind of things are there. Very strong agitations are taking place there. We must join hand with them. We must support them for this very, very noble cause, because they are very close to Kerala, and they are having a lot of connections here. Not only that, it's this BJP after this Kashmir, they are making this as another Kashmir. These are the certain things I want to share you. There are many more things to say in detail. I hope that the others will do it. For these few words, I once again express my heartfelt thanks to you all for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Dear friends, you might have witnessed so many social media posts about Lakshadweep being on a protest and Save Lakshadweep tag, protest in the house corridor, all those slogans you might have heard. Why we are protesting against this Praful Kodabhai Patel? I specifically say the present administrator. Why we are protesting against him? There are 3 or 4 reasons why entire Lakshadweep people are against this administrator's arbitrary attitude and the way he is trying to legalize his illegal actions. Number 1, you know that Lakshadweep was the only one place till 2020 when entire world was shook because of the COVID first pandemic wave. At those times, Lakshadweep was the only one place green zone. How we could achieve that? That was achieved only because of the collective steps of the Lakshadweep administration and the elected representatives and the people. And we have formulated a special SOP in that a quarantine system was enforced, that anybody who wanted to visit Lakshadweep has to undergo 7 days quarantine in Kochi. Then they will be produced for the test RT-PCR. Those who test negative only permitted to go to Lakshadweep.
Once they go to Lakshadweep, again they have to go 1 week quarantine, so that the spread of virus to Lakshadweep was controlled and screened. Why we took such a decision is, we know our health scenario there. We don't have that much facility hospitals there. Lakshadweeps are far-flung. Each island is differently located. From one island to another island, movement is very difficult. So, envisaging all those things, we took a decision collectively, and their people were also supporting to that this quarantine system really yielded Lakshadweep to keep Lakshadweep safe from first wave of corona. What immediately after Mr. Praful Kodabai Patel taking the charge of Lakshadweep administration, the first thing what he did was he unilaterally decided to relax the standard operating procedure. In that, we vehemently opposed on only one condition. We also wanted to have economic development. We also supported for the economic development. All those things, entire people of Lakshadweep agreed for that, provided we requested him to restore the quarantine system which is implemented in the previous SOP, stating the reasons which I earlier elucidated to you, because of the health, immature health facilities we have. On that aspect, this is the only way to have control over the spreading of corona, so that precautionary measure is the best way, so that the quarantine system should be restored. And we requested at least those who are tested negative, 48 hours tested negative people, before they go for boarding the ship, at least till such period they should not be given an opportunity to go outside, get infected and board the ship. So that at least that 48 hours test negative people before boarding the ship may be quarantined. This was the request we entire people of Lakshadweep we requested with him. And for that we protested on the road. I was a person who was leading the protest in the front. But unilaterally he didn't accept it. He go on and done away with the quarantine. What yielded is now India's highest test positivity rate reported place is Lakshadweep now. There are more than 24 valuable life we lost. 4 islands are in completely shut down situation. The life is miserable there for the people. At top of that, he is coming with all this draft notification, can you imagine? See, he came the first time, he introduced the PASA, that is Gunda Act. What is Lakshadweep to Gunda Act? Lakshadweep is the most peaceful area certified by UNO. And the crime rate in the records of National Crime Bureau of Records, the kidnapping, the terrorist activity, the child abduction, you see, even you can see now, it is zero there. What made this present administrator to bring in such a enactment to be enacted by the Government of India, a draft notification for Gunda Act? What prompted him here? This is the sequence you must understand. The following draft and the draft which is in queue, which is going to be coming in future days. There are 12 more, draft notifications and rule making, which is going to be very shortly to the Lakshadweep. So, what actually he was envisaging to make people fear that this PASA Act, what the content of the draft says that a person who is being arrested on such ground cannot even ask for legal service, and the administrator is competent to keep that person under custody for 6 months without providing constitutional right for getting a legal service. That is happening in Lakshadweep. Lakshadweep is such a small place where people live very happily, harmoniously. Everybody who visited Lakshadweep, those administrators who served Lakshadweep will be astonished to see such a draft notification by this gentleman. Secondly, the Animal Preservation Act, they are coming out. What is to be preserved there? There also they are making mockery on it. See, the animals or the species to be protected and preserved in conserved Lakshadweep is the marine wealth, the marine flora and fauna, the species of the marine, which contributes to the growth of corals, which finally yields for the stability and existence of the islands. Like sea cucumbers, lot many other species. Those are things to be preserved and conserved. But under the disguise of Animal Preservation Act, what they are trying to implement, what he is trying to implement is the what I should eat, what I should not eat. He is telling about my constitutional right. That in this Animal Preservation Act, he is mentioning only 3 animals, that is cow, bull and buffaloes. So on this, there is a very, these animals are brought from mainland, like from Calicut, from Mangalore. We are bringing it from the other part of the country. What we have to do, secure those animals to be vaccinated. Why? That is a laid down principle, the rules are there. When one animal is transported from one point to another point, that animal need to be properly vaccinated. That we are doing it. Then what are they are trying to impose on us by implementing such an Animal Preservation Act is very well clear, crystal clear, that he is doing something with an ill motive. Third, he is coming out with the Panchayat regulation. The democratically elected two bodies, one is Member of Parliament, the other is District Panchayat. We have two-tier Panchayat system, one is Village Panchayat, the other one is District Panchayat. These two Panchayats have never discussed, the administration have not discussed anything of this rule or regulation amendment point. That was not made an agenda point in the district Panchayat meetings, where I am to a member. All the elected chairpersons of the village Panchayat to member. The present rule says that the membership to the district Panchayat for the Member of Parliament and chairperson of the village Panchayat is ceased. A person, he or she having more than 2 kids, cannot contest in the Panchayat election. These all draft notifications are being brought without even a discussion with the elected representative. Is this the democracy of India? Is this the way we are envisaging? How blatantly he is criticizing or criminalizing, he is destroying the democratic fabric of India. Third, he is coming forth with the most dangerous thing. That is the Lakshadweep Development Authority draft. This Lakshadweep Development Authority, this development draft, authority draft is being brought at the amidst of the pandemic crisis. People are suffering, lot many lives have gone. Even medical officers are finding it difficult to provide medical facilities. At that juncture, another draft notification is coming in front. In that, people are not in a position to even communicate to each other, to consult an advocate, to get a legal opinion, because it is in 187 pages. In that, the dangerous part is that this authority have ultimate authority on the land in which an administration or the Lakshadweep government, if they wanted to have a public interest, say for example a hospital is to be constructed, a school is to be constructed, whatever development they are talking of, for that a land, if they see and they choose, the landowner have no right to oppose on it, and no consent is required from the landowner. And to the extent that the compensation to be paid or not paid will also be decided by this authority. The house which we live, we have to pay a tax of 2 lakh rupees annually to this authority when this draft is being, if it is implemented. A place called Lakshadweep, which is total land area 32.2 square kilometer, and one island is just measuring 3 square kilometer. At that island, in that islands, he is envisaging a placing of roads of 15-meter broader roads. Can you imagine what is the situation? How many houses need to be demolished on that to establish such a road? And what is this a scientific development? It is not at all a scientific way of developing Lakshadweep, because to precisely how it has gone against the interest of the Supreme Court. Supreme Court have appointed a committee, Justice Ravindran Commission, with all scientists and experts. They studied entire developmental things of Lakshadweep. They made an outer guideline, what are the things to be done, what are the things cannot be done as a part of development. Which in these guidelines, what mentioned in the guidelines, this draft is it is totally against to that ambit of these guidelines, which is actually the guidelines vetted by the Supreme Court of India. It is on top of that, all the contract employees are being retrenched at this pandemic situation. Where they will go? They are losing their job. They don't have any other alternative. There is no other big companies who have a private job. They depend mainly on the government jobs. That too, even centrally sponsored schemes are also being, those people who are engaged under centrally sponsored schemes, that also being retrenched by this gentleman. On this we are protesting. We don't have any enmity with the central government. I am sure that this is not with the intention or the knowledge of the central government. Because when this Praful Padwa Patel was appointed as the administrator, Daman Diu, Dadra Nagar Haveli, at the same time Lakshadweep also got a political nominated administrator, Mr. Farooq Khan. He was a retired IPS officer for Jammu and Kashmir. He was the National General Secretary of BJP. But when he came, he was so people friendly. He was very conclusive and he was very consultative with the elected representative, with member of parliament. There was a joint level of meeting, things happening. It was a combined system of going of development. It was very smoothly going. After him, late Mr. Dinesh Sharma came. He was the IB chief there and he was interlocutor for Northeast. After his retirement, he was given the charge of Administrator Lakshadweep. He was the first person to stand in front to lead the war against Corona. It was all a joint type of effort that entire Lakshadweep was free from COVID for 1 year. And Mr. Dinesh Sharma was leading that force from the front. So these are all the central government has given us. Lot many development things in the last 5 years. Central government has given lot many things. All those things like even health insurance policies, public-private participation, outsourcing of specialist doctors, everything after he reaching everything, he started re-investigating things. Those things which is sanctioned by the central government in the previous year, he wanted to re-investigate on those things. On this attitude of the administrator, we are protesting. Entire Lakshadweep, student community, people, even all households are protesting against this particular administrator, not with the central government. We requesting the central government, this protest and this shouting, this slogans should reach the central government here, the Home Minister and the Prime Minister, that this entire Lakshadweep is not against the central government but against Mr. Praful Patel.
Lakshadweep or Lakshadweeps, as it is sometimes called, is a very beautiful part of our country, a place which has so many specialities and particularities which were noted and praised by many people, great leaders, writers who have written on the history and culture of Lakshadweep, and also the tourists who come from the nook and corner of the world to see this very beautiful piece of land from many countries. Among them also we can find renowned persons. They have always praised and lauded this area because of its not only its natural beauty, but for its people's character, good character, their praiseworthy behavioral pattern. Everybody knows the people of Lakshadweep are good tempered, sweet tempered. They are well known for their warmth, affectionate response, and their broad-minded hospitality. They receive people, they shower their love and affection on them. Whoever visits that land, they return with good memories, sweet memories, not only of the land but of the inhabitants. The memories concerning the inhabitants of the country, the people who reside there. But quite unfortunately, now the recent developments and the reports we are hearing from the island are very much alarming, and it has created a kind of anxiety everywhere, especially not only among the people of that land, but throughout the country, especially in Kerala. We, the people of Kerala, have special affinity with the people of Lakshadweep. It is historical, it is cultural, it is even linguistic. Both these people speak the same language, Malayalam, though in certain islands they have other language. Most of the people who hail from Lakshadweep, they speak Malayalam. Now, when we examine the causes that led to the discontentment among the people of Lakshadweep, we can very well understand the background behind it. The background is the recent so-called reforms brought by the administrator. It cannot be depicted or described as a kind of bringing reform. It is a kind of disturbing the existing peaceful atmosphere of Lakshadweep. Many issues are there. I am not going to the details of the issues which are very widely discussed in detail, but I am just here mentioning one or two very important problems created by these measures from the part of the administration. The COVID, let us come to that point, which is the very urgent one, the pandemic situation, alarming situation throughout the country. Everybody is worried. It is a human issue. There was not a single case. No single case was reported from Lakshadweep in 2020. But now the positivity rate has gone to such an extent that only with great care and precautionary measures we will be, or the administration will be able to bring down that positivity rate. The reason that led to the rise of positivity rate is very evident. It is due to withdrawal of the restrictions brought by the former administrator in the protocol in controlling the pandemic. But the new administrator, he just withdrew quarantine of 6 days, such things. And Lakshadweep is a very peaceful place. Everybody knows. People are peace loving. They are not quarrelsome. They don't have fights each other. They love each other. They live in peace. They are very much known and they are praised for their peaceful attitude to life. But now what is happening? Now there is a proposal to bring the anti-social activities regulation bill 2021, which is known as the Gunda Act, as it is popularly known. What is the need for such a harsh law in a place like Lakshadweep? What is the logic behind it? The people are asking this question. Other developments are also there. For example, opening the liquor bars, taking over the control of the Jilla Panchayats. So many things we can enumerate. All these policies, measures are negative, destructive, deplorable and condemnable. And such things have to be withdrawn. The administrator has to be recalled. This is the demand of the people of Lakshadweep and all the other people who want our constitutional values to be protected, our human feelings to be respected. And there is another issue. The people of Lakshadweep, they have naturally, as we all know, they have very close relations with the people of Kerala, with the land of Kerala. They travel to Bepur. Bepur is not just an ordinary destination for the people of Lakshadweep. It is their traditional destination. It has a tradition, historical, and from time immemorial, it continues. That voyage, sea voyage, that is a reflection of historical ties between the mainland and the island. But now there is a proposal, there is an idea to change this destination from Bepur to Mangalore, which naturally will create great difficulties for the people of Lakshadweep. Nobody is happy. Nobody in Lakshadweep is happy with this kind of proposals, with this kind of decisions, with this kind of policies and programs that are implemented from the administrative side. This kind of measures have to be withdrawn at the earliest. When we look into the culture, tradition of the Lakshadweep, it has a great tradition, rich tradition, which can be shown as a model. Lakshadweep is a model for many great things, for many things which can be considered as great achievements in our present scenario. I had been to Lakshadweep 2 or 3 times, I remember, years back. Once I remember, I visited Lakshadweep with PM Saeed Sahib, who will be always remembered as the great son of Lakshadweep, as the great leader of Lakshadweep. He was central minister, he was deputy speaker, he was even speaker of the Lok Sabha for some time. A great man, great personality, respected by all. And he invited us. Us means Ghulam Nabi Azad and myself. We visited on the invitation of Saeed Sahab. We visited the islands. There were functions. We met the people, government functions. Because Ghulam Nabi Azad was central minister then, I was a member of Rajya Sabha. And I remember the way the people received us, the people of Lakshadweep, while looking to the past, remembering the past, and seeing the present condition, we all feel that the people of Lakshadweep, that peace-loving society, they should not have been led to this kind of a situation, an unfortunate situation. They are not a troublesome people. I repeat, they are good people. They deserve a favorable, humanitarian, democratic approach from the side of the administration. These measures, the recent measures, which are against the sentiments of the people, the very spirit of democracy, have to be withdrawn at the earliest. We hope and we ask that the government should intervene at the earliest to set things aright and to correct the situation.
Hello everybody, I'm VT Balram. I thank the Muslim Youth League National Committee, the organizers of this panel discussion, for having invited me here. The topic you have selected is on resisting the dictator, Save Lakshadweep Lives. And eminent personalities like Metha Didi is participating. I'm so happy to be in this team. Today coincidentally happened to be the birth anniversary of our first Prime Minister, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. When we think about Jawaharlal Nehru, so many adjectives comes up in our mind. He was a true democrat, he was a staunch secularist, he was an internationalist, he was an idealist who believed in Fabian socialism, he was a free thinker who always fought against superstitions. But one important thing which has increased my respect about Nehru is that he didn't become a dictator, because he has every chance to be one. He commanded so much respect in his party, unquestioned authority in the political spectrum. He was very popular among the masses. He had every chance to become a dictator, but he didn't become a dictator. In fact, he laid the strongest possible foundations for a constitutional democracy in India and the hardest possible obstacles for any of his successors to become a dictator. That is his most important contribution to Indian polity. Nehru's foreign policy too has so many contributions, as we all know. One among them is the Panchashil principles, the agreement he signed with China. But there is another Panchashil from Nehru, that is his tribal Panchashil. This is in fact a set of 5 principles which Nehru put forward, how to deal with the tribal people and the tribal settlements. So I will list them out. Number 1, people should develop along the lines of their own genius, and the imposition of alien values should be avoided. Try to encourage in every way their own traditional arts and culture. Number 1. Number 2, the tribal rights in land and forest should be respected. Number 3, train and build a team of their own people to do the work of administration and development. Try to avoid introducing too many outsiders into tribal territory. That's very important. Number 4, we should not over-administer tribal areas or overwhelm with a multiplicity of schemes. Administrate in accordance with their own social and cultural institutions. This is also very important. Number 5, we should judge the result not by the statistics or the amount of money spent, but by the human character that is involved. So these are the 5 fundamental principles upon which the future tribal policies of the Union government was formulated. Nehru himself has said that though this was originally intended for the northeast frontier regions where tribal habitations are so thick, this could be applied elsewhere, even to other scheduled areas, and Lakshadweep is one of such scheduled area. So the present developments in Lakshadweep has to be seen in the pretext of these Panchashil principles and how the relationship between the union government and the people of scheduled areas should become, how to administer and how not to over administer such areas. Lakshadweep, it's very dear to all of us. Personally, it's dear to me. I have so many friends there. I have so many classmates from there. While I studied my MBA in Calicut University campus, I had my hostel mates who lived next door. So I happened to visit there twice. One was some 12 years before and the other was just 2 years before. So we all love the place. We all love its natural beauty, its serenity. More than that, we all love its people. They are so peace-loving, so humble, what do you call it? Not at all luxurious, not at all rebellious. That reflects in their crime rates as well. It's almost a zero crime area. It is in this particular place the present administrator, Praful Khoda Patel, is trying to impose the Gunda Act or the Lakshadweep Anti-Social Activities Act in specific. So this is draconian to say its minimum, because you can put anyone in jail not doing any offense, but in the presumption that you will do an offense. You can put a person in jail for 1 year without trial. That is the penal provisions of this Anti-Social Activities Act. Again, this present administrator is trying to implement the Animal Preservation Act, hearing upon which we may have a presumption that he is trying to protect the marine aquaculture and the marine biology of Lakshadweep. But actually he is trying to impose a ban on the cow slaughter. It's clearly an RSS agenda. And it's totally insensitive to the local food habits of the Lakshadweep people, their own culture, because they used to eat beef, they used to eat non-vegetarian, so it's part of their culture and their sentiments. So he's trying to the administrator is trying to impose a ban on beef, even export of ban from the mainland. So it has nothing basically to do with animal protection and all. it's a Sangh Parivar agenda. Another thing is that he's trying to infringe upon the democratic rights of the Lakshadweep people. You have a draft Lakshadweep Development Authority rules which impose a ban on contesting panchayat elections for those people who have more than 2 children. So it's really fanatic, really meaningless. It has nothing to do with the security of the region. It's clear Sangh Parivar agenda. And the administrator is trying to encroach upon the democratic rights of and the powers of the elected district panchayats. And many of the important portfolios that directly deal with people's lives, like education, healthcare, fisheries, animal husbandry, have been removed by them, and the powers are vested with the administrator as of now. So, to sum up, these are draconian. People can't do anything like this. We should not allow people to do like this. Lakshadweep is very close to us, very close. It has very close cultural, educational, commercial ties with mainland Kerala. So it's our duty to stand by them, to protect them, because they are very few in number. Just 70,000 people can't make a big voice, even if their rights are being infringed upon. So it's for us to stand by them. So as a political worker here in Kerala, I extend my full support to the people of Lakshadweep who are fighting to save their land, to save their culture, to save their livelihoods, to save their food habits, and save their peaceful way of life. We all stand by them. And I request all those who are seeing this video, please extend our support to the people of Lakshadweep. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in, amma ba'd. Respected leaders, colleagues, and my dear friends. First of all, I take this opportunity to congratulate and appreciate Muslim Youth League National Committee for organizing such a serious discussion on the current issue of Lakshadweep. Lakshadweep is a place where every one of us would like to visit. It is one of the most tourist attraction in the world. We have heard of a lot of islands around the world, Mauritius, Maldives, and Hawaii Islands, and some of you have visited those islands. But compared to those islands, Lakshadweep is so amazing place. I have personally visited and I was so impressed, and it was so wonderful place to visit. As a tourist, we could see the best place around the world. And the people of Lakshadweep is so loving and caring. The hospitality that they are showing to the guests are awesome, and I have personally experienced that. And we Kerala people share a lot of things, our food, culture, language. We have the same culture. Though we are in Kerala, the people of Lakshadweep, when we meet them, some of the students, they come to Kerala to study, so we study together. Even I myself have good friends. One Mr. Anwar, who is working in police, he was my classmate in Faroe College. So we used to keep very good relationship. So everyone who studies in colleges in Kerala, they used to have Lakshadweepian friends, and the culture they have, the same culture we experience. And the new issue is really disturbing for us, because the people of Lakshadweep is now facing a very bad situation. They have freedom for everything. Now they ban the freedom of people of Lakshadweep. First they ban the eating of beef and cattle. Now they ban the transportation of beef and cattle. Now they are starting banning the dairy milk products and the fishing infrastructure. They are destroying it, and unbelievable things are happening, unimaginable, because a place like Lakshadweep, they are having good peaceful life, and most of them are educated and government employed, and they give no harm to anyone. And the new administrator who took charge had made a lot of thing which is not fair to them. The lifting the COVID protocol, the protocol which they have experienced have saved a lot of lives. It was most safest zone in India. And when the new administrator came, he lifted all the protocols, and the COVID started spreading more, and it came to thousands. Where there is no hospital, they have to survive. So it's a cruel thing that they are doing to the people of Lakshadweep. And now they started, before few weeks they tried to take away the power of Jilla district panchayat, and slowly they are making, it is a democratic country. The people have the right for some issues or some places in India. But now what we have seen is a very injustice to the people of Lakshadweep. We see the PASA Act, which is implemented in the PASA Act, which is implemented in a place where the crimes rates are nearly to zero, and attempt to ban eating beef and cattle trade and transport are extremely odious. The destruction of fishing infrastructure and cracking down the protest will yield nothing less than unrest and discord. All these are aimed at destroying beautiful Lakshadweep, where people live in peace and harmony. The government stood step back. And now we see the people of Lakshadweep are rightless. We have the right for everything, and they are losing all the right. Now we try to raise our voice. The government should step back and rethink of amending this law, showing the justice to people of Lakshadweep, and we pray for a beautiful and more calm and more peaceful Lakshadweep. Thank you for your kind invitation, and I take this opportunity to extend the solidarity of Muslim Youth League Kerala State Committee to the people of Lakshadweep. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Hello, dear friends. I am extremely delighted to be a part of this program organized by the Muslim Youth League, the Central Committee of India, on the issue of the current Lakshadweep. We all know that Lakshadweep is facing a severe problem. The people of Lakshadweep are facing severe problem on every ground after the arrival of the new administrator, Mr. Praful Patel. Now, ever since his arrival, the first thing he did was the withdrawal of the SOP. We all know that for nearly 1 year, Lakshadweep was free from COVID. It was a green zone. 14 days, any person who wanted to come to Lakshadweep had to quarantine in the mainland, get an RT-PCR test. If the RT-PCR test is negative, then you come down to Lakshadweep and again quarantine for 2 weeks. And if you're coming from Karnataka, Mangalore, also the same process was followed, wherein the people who had to come, who were keen to come to Lakshadweep, had to get an RT-PCR test done after the 14-day quarantine in the mainland from Mangalore. If the report is negative, they can come to Lakshadweep and again quarantine for 14 days. Now this SOP was withdrawn. Why this SOP was withdrawn? What was the reason? This SOP was withdrawn because the administrator says that the economic activities of Lakshadweep have suffered because of this SOP. If the people are not alive, if the people don't live, then what is the reason to have an economic activity? That is my point. Unfortunately, even after strikes, protests and demonstrations by political parties, elected representatives, the Honorable Administrator did not listen and he withdrew the SOP. All those who protested and took a strike were all put behind the bars, and they were behind the bars for nearly about 1 month or so, and we had to move to the Kerala High Court to get a bail. And after a 1 month battle, we got the bail, and because stringent sections of the FIR were charged against these protesters who were democratically protesting. Now, thereafter, SOP was withdrawn. At least earlier, small shops, vendors, and kirana stores, they were open. Now, after the withdrawal of the SOP, because of the lockdown and 144 curfew that was imposed, even the small shops and kirana stores and vendors and shopkeepers had to shut. Only for a limited period of time in a day they were allowed to open the shops. So has this in any way improved upon the economic activity, or it has adversely affected the economic activity? Previously, it was the shopkeepers could open in normal times because there was no corona. And we had told the administrator, we had mentioned it to the administration officers that there is lack of the facilities, but it was not heard. It was not listened to. Unfortunately, now COVID has widely spread, and there's a community spread in all the islands. Because of lockdown, because of curfew that has been imposed, you cannot have any kind of protest or demonstration that can be done. On top of it, the ships which ply from mainland to the islands, they import everything right from salt to the pepper. And unfortunately, the ship's crew who were to be vaccinated first, they were not vaccinated. Out of the 10 ships today, only 10 or 2 ships are plying, which caters to the needs of the islanders to transport the men and material. The rest 8 ships are held up and tied. So SOP was withdrawn, and then you imagine, even before the Gunda Act has been imposed or has been enacted, which is also the PASA, Prevention of Anti-Social Activities Act, Activities Regulation. People have been booked for striking for the withdrawal of SOP in normal law. So if Gunda Act or the PASA, the so-called PASA, if it is enacted, what would be the condition? You just contemplate. It's going to be a very serious problem. All of them would be booked. The National Crime Record Bureau, which has been issued by the Ministry of Home Affairs, it is not Hamdullah Saeed, it is the Home Ministry which has issued it. That says that the crime rate in Lakshadweep is minuscule. or it is very peaceful territory. People are living with peace and tranquility. So, where crimes are not there, you want to get Gunda Act. Huh? So, what is it? What do you want ultimately? So, and then LBDB Act, Lakshadweep Land Development Building Regulation. It says that any household or any commercial building which has to take the permission of the administrative town planning officer every 3 years. And if it is denied, if the permission is refused, then his household or his commercial establishment would be demolished. And it has to be demolished if the owner of the house or the commercial establishment does not demolish. After a fine of 2 lakhs will be imposed on the owner if he fails to pay that 1,000 rupees per day. How will he meet that? How is he going to meet that? These are all laws and rules and regulations which are not prevalent in any part of the world, not in any state, not in any union territory. What do you want? What is your agenda? What is your objective? What wrong have the people of Lakshadweep done to you? Why are you doing this? So with these words, and then with these words I want to conclude. And yesterday they have come up with a new order with regard to the helicopter. Patients are evacuated by helicopter. A helicopter is used as a medical ambulance. And now it is understood that the patients have been, a new committee has been formed, which will have to, the patient who has to be evacuated will have to get the concurrence of this committee, which consists of 4 members, along with the previous committee which had only a medical officer and the port director, and it also has an additional secretary to the department of port. So in all, it is going to be a cumbersome process, and it will ensure that the patient cannot be saved. What is your intention? Please tell. So, and yesterday fishing has been banned for 3 months. What is your agenda? People are living in Lakshadweep only by who are coconut tree climbers or fisherwomen or government employee. They are not able, they don't have any other source of income, their livelihood. How should they live? You tell. Therefore, with these words, I thank and express my sincere gratitude to the organizers and extend all my good wishes for this program and all of the organizers. With these words, I conclude. Jai Hind.
Salam everyone. Hi, a good day. It is a privilege and it gives me immense pleasure to stand here for our rights to live as an Indian citizen and a member of the indigenous population of islands of Lakshadweep. Let me first of all thank the organizers for providing me this wonderful opportunity to be with you, share my views with the eminent personalities here in the webinar, and also at the same time apologize for being unable to upload a video because of the some technical issues with the network in my island. I'm extremely sorry for that. As we all know, Lakshadweep is a place known for its natural beauty, its tranquility, and the people, the local indigenous inhabitants with a very rich culture, heritage, history, and the people live here in harmony with nature and the laws of the land. Being a native of Minicoy, I can say from the history records that history of the entire Lakshadweep, including Minicoy, which was a part of Maldives, dates back even before Christ, the Roman Empire. There's historical evidence that shows that the inhabitants of the islands living in the Arabian Sea even visited the palace of Roman Emperor before Christ. So that is the real fact of the population residing in the islands, living in the islands, and you cannot simply neglect them saying as settlers. Therefore, I would like to refer this as a civilization in the Arabian Sea. Whoever have been at the center, formed the government at the center, they were all very much empathetic and they were concerned with the islands and the islanders, their welfare, and also the developmental activities. They were considerative of our socio-economic aspects, our culture, our history, and our lifestyle, our faith and beliefs, and also the fragile and vulnerable ecosystem with a diverse biodiversity. But the situation suddenly turns upside down with the arrival of the present administrator, Mr. Praful Kodabhai Patel. The second political appointee first being Mr. Farooq Khan in Fagend of 2016. As usual, gifted with, naturally gifted hospitality and the rich culture of receiving guests, the people of Lakshadweep received administrator with great hopes without knowing the despotic ruler's intentions, motives, and his plans. His first idea was to create a false impression among the locals for being a man of development. But soon after, no later, his motives became exposed when he ordered to relax the existing SOP of the COVID-19 with stringent quarantine measures at Cochin and also the islands. Though there are, I've heard a few people making statements supporting Mr. Patel, saying that no, it was not he who decided to take off the SOP, but it was the decision of Disaster Management Authority of Lakshadweep. But we all know how the administrative machinery in Lakshadweep works. Immediately, the local inhabitants who were aware of the consequences that's going to happen protested, and cases were charged, arrested for unlawful gathering. You can imagine what's going to happen. And moreover, the cases were framed for establishing a few boards with slogans against CA and NRC, and arrested and charged with sedition. And the buck didn't stop there even. Immediately thereafter, the draft notification of Lakshadweep Prevention of Antisocial Activities, that is similar to Gunda Act, was notified. Apparently, people may ask, what is the problem with it for a common man? I will not go into the details of this act, but would like to say that there are many clauses that are unconstitutional and denies the basic human right and that are entitled in the Constitution, that is to seek legal help when someone is arrested and detained. The regulation gives the administrator immense powers, and he is authorized to order to detain any person whom he feels that it is necessary to detain him, even without any evidence, material evidence against him, and detain him as per the regulation. Rather than trying to understand the people, the culture, the lifestyle of the local inhabitants, the indigenous population, there was a hurry from the side of the administrator who was appointed recently. And for this reason, there was a hurry to amend regulations to impose new laws upon the people, including the beef ban in the name of Animal Preservation Act. Panchayat regulation was totally scrapped, and a new regulation was notified. Draft notification was notified. Moreover, the democratic institutions, especially the PRIs, district panchayat, the powers were stripped off, and the departments and the 5 departments that were transferred in 2012 was taken back without any valid reason, which is obviously an undemocratic action, worse than a bureaucrat. All this together point towards an aristocratic ruler who wanted to rule by might and power and not to deliver and look after the welfare of people, which all democratic minds of this country will condemn with its good spirit. The most outrageous and the draconian regulation the present administrator, Mr. Patel, is trying to impose is the Local Development Authority Regulation 2021. Comparatively, all other regulations, and this regulation is considered among the majority as the most dangerous and evil one. That is intended to evict, dislodge and grab the land from the owners of the indigenous inhabitants of this island. I would prefer to highlight and discuss merely this regulation, the Local Development Authority Regulation, rather than going to all other regulations or whatever he has done after taking the charge of these islands as the administrator. This regulation, the LDAR 2021, gives unrestricted powers to the administrated and the authorized officers to enter one's own land anytime and evict the owner, and further includes many other clauses that would deny the indigenous local inhabitants to own and enjoy their property as envisaged in our constitution. This regulation, the LDAR 2021, gives unrestricted powers to the administrated and the authorized officers to enter one's own land anytime and evict the owner, and further includes many other clauses that would deny the indigenous local inhabitants to own and enjoy their property as envisaged in our constitution. The massive developmental activities and programs and projects he is talking about is unfit, unsuitable, and against the very published policy of tourism development islands by the government of India, that says it should be economically viable, environmentally sustainable, socially acceptable and culturally desirable. This is the development mode which we actually want, and we are not against such development which takes care of our social, cultural, traditional and our faith and belief and other aspects. The massive developmental activities and programs and projects he is talking about is unfit, unsuitable, and against the very published policy of tourism development islands by the government of India, that says it should be economically viable, environmentally sustainable, socially acceptable and culturally desirable. This is the development mode which we actually want, and we are not against such development which takes care of our social, cultural, traditional, and our faith and belief and other aspects. It is very clear, very much clear, that our existence is under question, and we, all the natives, are under fear and chaos under Mr. Patel, and nothing less than calling him back and revoke all the drafts notified by the present administrator, Mr. Patel, should be prized to the Honorable Prime Minister, His Excellency the President of India, and also simultaneously request to appoint a senior IAS officer who is capable to understand our culture, heritage, and the socio-economic aspects to implement welfare and developmental activities and projects that will not have any adverse impact on this fragile and vulnerable ecosystem with a rich biodiversity. To preserve and to develop should be the motto of UTL administration, and not destructive development. Now, to conclude, I would like to say that let us unify, keeping aside all the political differences for the time being, and let us not stop this fight until Mr. Patel is called back and all the draft notifications are revoked, and an IAS officer is immediately appointed as the administrator of Lakshadweep Islands. Thank you all. Wassalam.
The people of Lakshadweep are going through a very serious, unprecedented political crisis right now. People are very worried and people are very upset, frustrated, angry, and protests are going on online, on all virtual platforms, including social media and traditional media, because people cannot come into the streets because people are in a very serious, severe lockdown because the COVID cases are up in all islands. Lakshadweep, as we know, is the smallest union territory of India, and it is scattered in the Arabian Sea. There are 36 islands and only 10 islands are inhabited. The population is around 70,000 and they have scheduled tribe status. Almost 99 or even 100% of them are Muslims. So right now, what is happening is in 2020 December, a new administrator came after the sad, untimely demise of the former administrator. The new administrator, who is also in charge of Dadra and Nagar Haveli and Daman Diu, his name is Praful Kodabai Patel. After his appointment is political. Before his arrival, it used to be either IPS or IAS. Congress had a long tradition of sending or appointing only IAS qualified senior officers as administrators of the union territories, but NDA or BJP broke that tradition and they started sending either IPS or sometimes even political appointments like Mr. Praful Patel. So after his arrival, he started introducing arbitrary rules and regulations very unilaterally in a very autocratic and authoritative manner, very undemocratically, without consulting anyone of Lakshadweep, right from their member of parliament or island panchayats or any elected body. So, and all this is happening in the name of development. So if you want to develop people, and if the people are not taken into consideration, if they are not listened to, if their worries are not attended, then whose development you are talking about? What is your idea of development? So right now, the issue is that the major issue is that this is going to affect the people of Lakshadweep in the long run. There is this draft called Lakshadweep Development Authority Regulation. So this draft enables the administrator or whoever he appoints to take away the land of the people of Lakshadweep for the purpose of development. If it is designated for development or the town plan, so the town plan committee can capture, seize the land and en masse evacuate people or remove people from one place to another or from one island to another, whatever they want to. So you cannot legally, even legally, according to certain sections and provisions in the rule, you cannot even legally question this. You cannot, you will have to obey to this, oblige to this, and you don't have an option. So you cannot have construction or expansion or renovation of your own house or buildings in your own property, in your own land. So this is a very blatant, undemocratic violation of the people's right to life, people's right to their own land. And they are saying that they are going to bring national highways and tramways and railways and mining, quarrying. These are the things that the draft says as development. So we have to remember that this is a very small landmass, and some islands have the square kilometers of the area of 5 square kilometers, and there are small islands like Bitra where only around less than 300 people live, 300 people, and in islands like Amini and Androth it's densely populated, and even they don't have land for their own construction activities. So in such places you are talking about highways, railways, tramways. Basically this is a commercial project, this is a tourism project. So, and the interest is clearly real estate. Another serious issue is that none of these development plans ever consider the fact that Lakshadweep's ecology, the marine ecology of Lakshadweep is very fragile and very weak. Lakshadweep Islands, just like Maldives or any other islands, are going through a climate change crisis. And when the administration talks about Maldives style tourism and lagoon villas, then they never take into account of the environmental impact it is going to have. So the ecology or the environment of Lakshadweep Sea is to be very seriously considered. Another issue is that apart from the LDAR, Lakshadweep Development Authority regulation, another serious issue is that another serious regulation that they have brought is PASA, or Prevention of Anti-Social Activities Act, which is termed as a Gunda Act. We have to remember that Lakshadweep is the place where in the official and unofficial records the lowest crime is reported in the entire country. So in such a place you are introducing Gunda Act. So the intention is, obviously, if somebody protests, whenever there are protesters or objections to their agendas, then you will be under arrest without public disclosure, without trial. You could be in detention for an year. So this is a very clear threatening of the people of Lakshadweep by using law, by legal measures. So interestingly, these things have been applied in very similar measures were taken in Dadra and Nagar Haveli by the same administrator, and he has evacuated people, and very large tourism projects were implemented. So people are very worried and frustrated. The same thing could happen in Lakshadweep also, and they are not going to allow this to happen. And another thing is that when in entire 2020, when the whole world was under lockdown and the whole world was suffering from the COVID-19, Lakshadweep was a place where not a single case of COVID-19 was reported, and it did not happen by chance or accident. The former administrator, Mr. Mr. Sharma, he had a very clear policy about the standard operating procedure of passengers coming to Lakshadweep from the mainland. So Mr. Praful Patel removed the SOP and removed the protocol of staying in quarantine in Kochi and Bepur in ports, and allowed people travel without proper procedure. So he changed the procedure, and after that, today Lakshadweep is one of the places in India where test positivity rate is the highest. So people are suffering, and there are around 24 deaths, more than 24 deaths, I guess, in Lakshadweep. So we have to understand that Lakshadweep is a small territory, and the entire population consists of around 70,000 people, and they don't have proper medical facilities. They have to, if people are under serious critical conditions, they have to be evacuated to the mainland. So they are suffering because of the change in the SOP. That was the first thing he did. Then after that, he started, he arrested people who had put up posters against CAA and NRC, and he started interfering in the midday deal of the Anganwadis and schools, basically schools. So he removed beef and started implementing vegetarian diet. So this is a backdoor beef ban. This is an attempt to ban beef through backdoors, and in the animal husbandry department, dairy farming has been cancelled or stopped. He has given an ordinance recently to sell off all the cows, and Amul products are being shipped to the islands, and they are being distributed through the cooperative societies in Lakshadweep. See, Amul products and local dairy farming and local milk collection and processing is stopped. And then comes the liquor prohibition was there in Lakshadweep, and it is lifted in the name of tourism, with the explanation that if there is no liquor, the tourists will not come. So basically all these measures are a clear intention to disrupt the peaceful living of Lakshadweep people. This is a challenge to their culture and cultural and social and political lifestyle, and moreover, this is being done without consulting anybody in the Lakshadweep. They have their own elected political leaders, representatives. They have island panchayats, island council, and AM and MP. So all of them, including the BJP of Lakshadweep, the BJP state unit of Lakshadweep, are against this person. So when you take a measure that would affect the people of a place, then don't you think it is democratic, it is fair, it is humane to consult them first, or to take their opinions into consideration? So for whom you are bringing all this development? It is very clear that it is for somebody else. So people are worried that they are going to be evacuated, they are going to be they are going to be forced to migrate to another place in near future. So this is a very worrying, very serious situation in Lakshadweep, and the people of Lakshadweep, they don't have their own media, they don't have their own channels, they don't have their own networks. The people of the mainland will have to support and network and connect with them to understand the problems in depth and to support them in depth. Otherwise, this is going to be genocidal for them, I am afraid, because the kind of profile, notoriety or infame that the current administration has can be very dangerous for them, because he has been very notorious. He has been the main accused of the suicide of the Dadra Nagar Haveli MP. So he in his suicide note very clearly mentioned his name, that it is because of the harassment of this person for 1.5 years that I am committing suicide. He even threatened the same PASA, Prevention of Antisocial Activities Act, against this person, Praful Patel, according to the suicide note he wrote, and according to the conversation his son had with Uddhav Thackeray, the Mumbai, the Maharashtra Chief Minister and Shiv Sena leader. So basically, the thing is that he is using. He needs power, and whoever is against power, who against his power, will be under crisis, will be under threat. So this is a very serious issue. This is very unacceptable. This is very undemocratic, and this is basically internal colonization. So people should be given autonomy. So the people of Lakshadweep should rule themselves. If they are Indians, if we consider them as Indians, if they are citizens, then it's not somebody from Gujarat or North India, somebody who has no idea of their culture or legacy or heritage or history or tradition, somebody who has no respect for their livelihood. See, in the name of Coastal Zone Regulation Act, the sheds of poor fishermen have been demolished. So people are crying. There are videos wherein people are crying and saying that we have lost our livelihood. And around 500 contractual laborers have been terminated from their job. So very large scale privatization and commercialization of Lakshadweep resources are going to take place, and it is not acceptable. And a lot of people, including the BJP unit of Lakshadweep, are protesting against his measures, because his measures are very unilateral and against the spirit of democracy, and it is a kind of internal colonization. Every people, particularly they are scheduled tribe, they have scheduled tribe status, and in places like Minicoy they are a linguistic minority. They are the only people in India who speak Mahal language. So they have their own a very unique and distinct culture and heritage. So these things have to be taken care of. Their right to life and their right to their property and their right to their land and culture are to be respected at any cost, and the people of India have a responsibility to stand with them, to speak for them. Otherwise, they will be in serious trouble.
Hi, my name is Abha. I'm sending across my solidarities and revolutionary greetings to everybody who is live today and who is watching this video. तो सभी साथियों को मेरा इनकलाब जिंदाबाद, जो ये वीडियो देख रहे हैं और ये जो लाइव देख रहे हैं. तो आज the reason why we have come today is to talk about resisting the dictator and saving the Lakshadweep. तो आज जिसके लिए हम आए हैं वो लक्षद्वीप के बारे में बात करने के लिए है, और जो तानाशाह के खिलाफ जो एक विरोध अभी चल रहा है उसके बारे में भी बात करने के लिए. So first I think it is important to understand what or who is the dictator, right? Because right now what is being talked about is the narrative that is coming about is about whatever the things that Mr. Patel has been doing in the Lakshadweep. तो जब हम लोग बात करते हैं तो ये बहुत ज़रूरी हो जाता है कि हम जाने कि हम किसके बारे में बात कर रहे हैं. तो अभी जो बात हो रही है वो ये है कि मिस्टर पटेल जो हैं वो अभी के एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर बने बने हैं और उन्होंने जो किया है वो उसकी बात हो रही है. Yes, that is very important, but more important right now, as everybody has been talking about, is कि ये क्या कैसे हो रहा है, ये क्या चीज़ें हैं जो ये जो सरकार है वो कर रही है. क्योंकि लक्षद्वीप जो है, द आइलैंड्स ऑफ लक्षद्वीप, इट इज़ अ यूनियन टेरिटरी, जिसका मतलब है दैट इट विल कम अंडर द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट. कि इसका मतलब ये है कि सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के नीचे लक्षद्वीप आता है. तो जो जितने भी सारी चीज़ें वहाँ पे लागू होती हैं वो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के जानकारी से होती है. सो वॉट एवर इज बीइंग इम्प्लीमेंटेड और डिप्लॉयड इज बाय द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट, है ना. तो ये एक राज जैसा है कि एक मोदी राज है, एक बीजेपी राज है. ये जो एक राज चल रहा है, दिस इज अ काइंड ऑफ अ मोदी राज दैट इज, और बीजेपी राज दैट इज हैपनिंग इन लक्षद्वीप. नाउ हाउ इज इट हैपनिंग, वो कैसे हो रहा है ना, ये जानने की हमें बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरत है. तो सबसे पहले जो हमें मुद्दा उठाने की ज़रूरत है, द मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट पॉइंट दैट वी हैव टू रिमेंबर इज दैट इन द मंथ ऑफ December 2020, for the first time in the history of Lakshadweep, a minister is becoming or taking the position of an administrator. ये पहली बार हो रहा है लक्षद्वीप के इतिहास में कि एक एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर के पोजीशन में एक मिनिस्टर आके बैठ रहे हैं. इसका मतलब क्या है? इसका मतलब ये है कि एक एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर जो है, जो लोकल कानून लाते हैं या फिर जो लोकल ऑर्डर्स या नोटिसेस निकालते हैं. सो व्हाट डज एन एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर डू? दे ब्रिंग अबाउट नोटिसेस, सर्कुलर्स एंड एवरीथिंग. So for the first time यहाँ पे कोई IAS ऑफिसर नहीं बैठा है. For the first time in the history there is no IAS officer sitting here. Instead we have a minister. Now what ministry did he hold before? ये कौन सी मिनिस्ट्री लेते थे? तो 2002 में जब गुजरात के दंगाई के बाद अमित शाह को जेल जाना पड़ा, तब मिस्टर पटेल मोदी गवर्नमेंट के, मोदी सरकार के होम मिनिस्टर थे. सो व्हेन अमित शाह वाज सेंट टू जेल आफ्टर 2002 गोधरा पोग्रोम, मिस्टर पटेल टुक ओवर एज द होम मिनिस्टर ऑफ द गुजरात गवर्नमेंट. ठीक है ना. उसके बाद उनकी एक राजनीतिक एक लाइफ रही है. ही हैज हैड अ पॉलिटिकल लाइफ आफ्टर दैट. एंड उसके बाद अभी राइट नाउ वो उनको भेजा गया है लक्षद्वीप में. ही इज बीन सेंट टू लक्षद्वीप एज द एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर. नाउ व्हाट आर द फर्स्ट फ्यू थिंग्स दैट ही डिड? क्या किया उन्होंने, मतलब आने के बाद उन्होंने क्या किया, वो ही है ना हमें देखने की जरूरत है. सो सबसे पहले जो स्टैंडर्ड ऑपरेटिंग प्रोटोकॉल जो होता है, जो कोविड टाइम पे उन लोगों ने रिलीज किया था, इसके पहले जो IAS ऑफिसर थे उन्होंने उनके एक इसमें उन्होंने जो किया था उसको निकाल दिया. नाउ इसमें क्या था? सो व्हाट द फर्स्ट थिंग दैट ही डिड वाज रिमूव द SOP, द स्टैंडर्ड ऑपरेटिंग प्रोटोकॉल that was implemented before the preceding IAS officer. इसमें what was written, what was the protocol? Protocol ये था कि you have to undergo a 1 week of quarantine in Cochin and from there come to Lakshadweep. नाउ इसमें यह था कि 1 हफ्ता आपको क्वारंटाइन होना था कोची में. उसके बाद आपके जो रिपोर्ट्स हैं उसके आधार पे आप जा सकते थे. नाउ उसको हटा के what they have done is they have moved it to 48 hours. ठीक है. वो पहली बात किया. फिर दूसरी बात उन लोगों ने ये किया कि जनवरी में, इन द मंथ ऑफ जनवरी, जितने भी फिशिंग कम्युनिटीज थे जो कोस्टल एरियाज में हैं, ऑल द फिशिंग होम्स, लाइक मेनी ऑफ द फिशिंग होम्स इन फ्यू आइलैंड्स, उनको डिमोलिश किया गया. मतलब कुछ नहीं बताया उन लोगों ने, सिर्फ ये बताया कि आपने कुछ कानून तोड़ा है, CRC का कानून तोड़ा है, तो हम आपका घर तोड़ रहे हैं. So what they told is that you're violating certain laws of CRZ and which is why they are demolishing the home. ये हुआ जनवरी में. फिर उसके बाद LDAR करके एक लक्षद्वीप डेवलपमेंट अथॉरिटी रेगुलेशन एक्ट जो ड्राफ्ट है अभी वो लाते हैं. नाउ दी LDAR, इट इज इम्पॉर्टेंट टू नोट इसमें क्या है. ये सबसे इम्पॉर्टेंट चीज है. ये जो पूरे लक्षद्वीप में जो कॉलोनियलिज्म की हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं, डिक्टेटरशिप की हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं, ये सबसे इम्पॉर्टेंट है. क्यों इम्पॉर्टेंट है ये आई विल टेल. व्हाई इज इट इम्पॉर्टेंट? लेट मी ट्राई एक्सप्लेनिंग इट टू यू. LDAR में उन लोगों ने व्हाट दे हैव डन इज दे हैव डिवाइडेड द आइलैंड्स इनटू 4 जोन्स, रेसिडेंशियल, कमर्शियल, इंडस्ट्रियल, एग्रीकल्चर एंड अदर्स। ठीक है, ये जो 4 चीजों में बांटा गया है, इसमें इंडस्ट्रियल आ रहा है। इसका मतलब क्या है? इंडस्ट्रीज आर गोइंग टू फ्लरिश इन लक्षद्वीप। अब लक्षद्वीप का एरिया ही 32 स्क्वायर किलोमीटर्स है। द एंटायर एरिया ऑफ लक्षद्वीप इटसेल्फ इज 32 स्क्वायर किलोमीटर्स। नाउ अंडर दिस LDAR ऑल पावर्स आर गिवन टू द प्लानिंग ऑफिसर। प्लानिंग ऑफिसर को पूरा मतलब पावर दिया गया है LDAR में। दिस इज द फर्स्ट थिंग दे हैव डन इन टर्म्स ऑफ ब्रिंगिंग समथिंग। ठीक है, ड्राफ्ट में। अब दूसरा वाला ये है कि उन लोगों ने पंचायती एक्ट उन लोगों ने लागू, अभी ड्राफ्ट स्टेज में है। अभी एक है कि जो 1994 में जो पंचायती एक्ट है उसको उन लोगों ने रद्द कर दिया है। दे हैव रिपील्ड दी 1994 पंचायती एक्ट इन दिस पर्टिकुलर पंचायती एक्ट। अभी इसमें बहुत सारी चीजें तो शायद पब्लिक डोमेन में ऑलरेडी है, फ्यू थिंग्स आर ऑलरेडी इन द पब्लिक डोमेन, जैसे सेक्शन 14 सॉरी क्लॉज 14 में एन नंबर जो है, जो यहाँ पे वेयर विमेन वेयर इंडिविजुअल्स हु हैव मोर देन 2 चिल्ड्रन कांट कंटेस्ट फॉर पंचायत इलेक्शंस। इसका मतलब जिनके पास 2 बच्चों से ज्यादा हैं तो वो कंटेस्ट ही नहीं कर सकते। तो मर्द तो छोड़िए, तो एक महिला तो कंटेस्ट ही नहीं कर सकती, एक बात। और शायद एक ट्विंस की बात भी बोली है। आई थिंक देव ऑलरेडी मेंशन अबाउट ट्विंस ऑल्सो। आई थिंक सो इफ यू हैव ट्विंस यू कांट डू दैट एज वेल। तो ये एक चीज है, एक तानाशाही ही है कि आप एक महिला से बता रहे हैं कि उनको बच्चा पैदा करना है कि नहीं। आप एक फैमिली को बता रहे हैं कि आप बच्चा पैदा करना चाहते हैं कि नहीं। ये एक अटैक है। दिस इज एन अटैक ऑन एन इंडिविजुअल फ्रीडम। एक व्यक्तित्व तौर पे, एक आजादी के तौर पे ये एक अटैक है। दूसरी बात यह है कि सरकार कह रही है कि what does it mean? इसका implication क्या है? अटैक तो हो गया, so that attack has happened. Now what is the implication? implication ये है कि रिप्रेजेंटेशन नहीं होगा। लोकल लोगों का तो रिप्रेजेंटेशन वहां पे नहीं होगा। जो एलीट लोग हैं, जिनके पास एक पावर है कि आप 2 बच्चों से कम हैं, वही मतलब वहां पे कंटेस्ट कर सकते हैं। तो व्हाट इज द इम्पैक्ट कि इट्स ओनली द इंडिजिनस पीपल ऑफ द प्लेस आर कंप्लीटली स्लोली रिमूव्ड फ्रॉम द पंचायत। दैट इज द ओनली डेमोक्रेटिक स्पेस, बिकॉज जैसे मैंने पहले बोला, ये एक यूनियन टेरिटरी है और यहाँ पे कानून सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट की है। लाइक आई टोल्ड, दिस इज सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट। There are few other things where completely the powers have been removed, जैसे for taxes and tax imposition and budget planning में the state will not incur, the पंचायत will not incur taxes लगाने हैं। तो वो prescription of the administrator, मतलब वो administrator के prescription के आधार पर आपके टैक्स लगेंगे। इसके अलावा नेशनल हाईवे प्रोजेक्ट उन लोगों ने बताया है, जहां पे जैसे वहां पे एक बहुत छोटी सी जगह है। दिस इज अ वेरी स्मॉल स्पेस। सो इन दिस वेरी स्मॉल स्पेस द रोड्स आर ओनली 3 to 4 meters वाइड। नाउ अंडर अ नेशनल हाईवे इज अ बिग, राइट, दे आर, वो बहुत बड़े रोड होते हैं। तो वो आसानी से आपका हो जाएगा 10 से 14, लाइक 10 to 14 meters तो आसानी से हो जाएगा। अभी उसके बाद और भी चीजें उन लोगों ने जो की हैं, एनिमल हस्बेंड्री में, मतलब जहां पे आपके पशु होते हैं उनको बंद कर दिया है। 10 आउटलेट से उनको शट किया है। इसका मतलब क्या है कि पीपल हु हैव कैटल, जो मतलब अपना ये करते हैं, they will not be able to sell their milk, तो मिल्क प्रोडक्शन वहां पे मतलब बंद कर दिया। फिर दूसरा उन लोगों ने कर दिया कि जहां पे कार्गोज आती हैं, जहां से दूध आती हैं, फ्रॉम वेयर मिल्क इज कमिंग, वहां पे ड्राफ्ट बनाया हुआ है दैट दे आर गोइंग टू ब्लॉक कोचीन एंड बेपुर पोर्ट, जो कैलिकट पोर्ट है जहां पे कार्गो आती हैं। तो अभी बोला गया है कि शिप्स हैव ऑलरेडी बिगन फ्रॉम गुजरात, वेयर जहां से अमूल की प्रोडक्ट्स आ रही हैं। सो ऑलरेडी न्यूज इज अप दैट शिप्स हैव लेफ्ट फ्रॉम गुजरात, that they were from where they are bringing Amul milk. और सबसे और एक और चीज ये है कि आंगनवाड़ीज बंद हो गई हैं। सो आंगनवाड़ीज आर शट। यहाँ पे बहुत सारे टर्मिनेशंस भी हुई हैं। करीबन 700 लोगों की नौकरियां चली गई हैं। ऑलमोस्ट 700 पीपल हैव लॉस्ट देयर जॉब्स। एंड अभी जो इन लोगों ने किया है कि व्हाट दे हैव डन विथ से द रिमूविंग ऑफ द प्रोटोकॉल, last year, पिछले साल, which Lakshadweep was a green zone. पिछले साल ये एक green zone था. अभी 2000 से भी ज्यादा केसेस है. राइट नाउ देयर आर मोर देन 2000 केसेस एंड देयर हैव बीन डेथ्स ऑफ 24 पीपल. 24 लोगों का मृत्यु हुआ है इसकी वजह से. तो इसका मतलब क्या है कि जो एक शांत जगह थी, अ वेरी पीसफुल प्लेस, वहां पे आपने पूरा हंगामा कर दिया है. यू कंप्लीटली चेंज्ड ओवर देयर वेयर वी हैव लॉस्ट. हम लोगों ने 24 लोगों को खोया है. क्यों? क्योंकि ये सरकार चाहती थी कि वहां पे टूरिज्म हो, वहां पे डेवलपमेंट हो. तो यही चीज़ें हम बताना चाहते थे. दीज आर लार्जर पॉइंट्स दैट आई वांटेड टू से, जो कैसे कॉलोनियलिज्म हो रहा है, कैसे टूरिज्म और डेवलपमेंट हो रहा है. कि आपने जहां आपका, हमारी जो एक आइडेंटिटी है, हम सबकी एक आइडेंटिटी है, वो हमारी लैंड से आती है, जिस मिट्टी से हम आते हैं, है ना. द आइडेंटिटी दैट वी हैव कम्स फ्रॉम द लैंड वी कम फ्रॉम द सॉइल वी कम फ्रॉम. ये वही तो हटा रहे हैं. This is what they are changing. They are bringing development, they are bringing tourism, they want land, they want to build resorts and few other development projects. तो जब हम लोग रेजिस्ट कर रहे हैं तो ये सब देखने की ज़रूरत है. और ये देखने की ज़रूरत है कि ये सिर्फ एक एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव पोजीशन पे नहीं है. हमारी लड़ाई जो है वो सिर्फ एक मिस्टर पटेल के खिलाफ नहीं है. Our fight is not against Mr. Patel, but against these very colonial schemes and colonial thinking. ये जो एक तानाशाही का जो एक सोच है, उसके खिलाफ हमारी लड़ाई है. तो बिफोर एंडिंग आई जस्ट वांट टू एक्सटेंड अगेन सॉलिडारिटीज. मैं अपना इंकलाब जिंदाबाद देना चाहती हूँ सभी लोगों के लिए जो लक्षद्वीप में अभी इस सरकार और सरकारी कानूनों के खिलाफ जो लड़ रहे हैं. हम अपना सॉलिडारिटी देते हैं और आने वाले दिनों में हम लोग कोशिश करेंगे कि और लोग जुड़े इस अभी जो विद्रोह चल रहा है, और ये जो एक विद्रोह है ये आगे जाके एक आंदोलन बने. तो इसके साथ हम अपना जो बात है, विद दिस आई थिंक आई जस्ट वांट टू से दैट we just hope that whatever resistance that is happening in Lakshadweep, this becomes a movement, and all our solidarities and revolutionary greetings are there with the people of Lakshadweep. With that, I would end. Inqilab Zindabad.
The Lakshadweep subject, if you understand, is actually an entanglement of three different distinctions. Firstly, it's the nation-state interest. If you look at it, there is a massive land grabbing process going on in Lakshadweep. It's decades old, long-term and ongoing process by which, in the name of military bases, military airstrips, the state is occupying land, and they peripherally call it development. And secondly, and in the second part, if you look at the education system, if we understand, we doesn't learn about our history, we doesn't learn about our culture, we learn about mainland history, we learn about the geography, the politics of other places. There is a disconnection from our own becoming. And this kind of rules and regulations, kind of PASA Act coming up, the state is in the process of creating a panopticon to control the native people. With this Land Regulation Act, they can encroach any land in any number of times in any required time. So this is the first part. I'm briefing. This is the first part, and second part, if you see is the corporate interest of the political leaders of the ruling party. They don't consider about the fragile ecosystem of this land. This land is made of coral sediments. It cannot withstand. It lacks carrying capacity. It cannot it can't be a construction base but they doesn't go for a scientific study. They are implementing their projects for their own crony capitalist interests. So this is the second part. This will hugely affect the Lakshadweep environment, the people of Lakshadweep, the fisher community and their livelihood. They doesn't ask for the consent of the Lakshadweep people. They are implementing projects in Lakshadweep. They doesn't ask for the their opinion, the Lakshadweep people's opinion. So this is the second part. And in third part, if you look at, is the hidden agenda of the BJP government. BJP government is, the nation is going through the biggest crisis. Our economy is in, unforeseen crisis. The value of rupee is diminishing. Petrol price is hiking up. When we are discussing about the COVID scenario, government there is a huge mismanagement. The government failed in addressing the COVID outbreak. When we are discussing about the bodies flowing in Ganga, they need to shift the attention. When the UP elections are coming, they need to shift the attention. So they want to make this Lakshadweep subject to a minority issue. Primarily, they want to make this to be a minority issue, so that we will fight for this, so that they can bring the force here, they can shut the place, so that the whole nation's attention and the whole vote bank attention will go communally, so they can benefit in the elections. So and in relation to this, there is a hidden hidebound idea of creating a monocultural nation that I need not to elaborate. So this is the third part. So being a Lakshadweepian, what is a lived experience right here? Every morning we are getting a new regulation. Every morning we woke up to a new regulation which is against our people, our environment, our land. So we live in fear. Our fundamental rights are being curtailed. We cannot dissent. We cannot protest. If you protest, we are getting arrested. There is no dialogue. There is no conversation. There is a complete anarchy. A draconian form of administration is headed by Mr. Praful Godabhai Patel. So historically, we are confronting an extremely helpless state of affairs. Our culture, our tradition, our moral values are being disintegrated, being rewritten by this administration. So in this time, we require national as well as international attention to the issue. We, as always, historically, we have been believing we follow the constitution and our judiciary, and we, the people of Lakshadweep, are embarking a fight for our land, our natives. We need all your support in this process. I'm sure this is a long-term process. This is a long-term fight, but we will fight this out. We believe in constitution. We will fight this out. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Now we are going to wind up this panel discussion. So first, on behalf of Muslim Youth League, let me convey my sincere thanks to each and every dignitary and the leaders who joined in this discussion. We've got common views and different perspectives in Lakshadweep Lives. I thank you people for watching this program throughout. As a winding up remarks, let me share a few words. We got two major issues. The first and foremost issue is the COVID pandemic. Our nation has been extremely lacking with sufficient vaccine, proper medicine and proper health infrastructure. Lakhs and lakhs of people died out of poverty and starvation. Crores and crores of people, still they are closely fighting with the deadly situation. Even in Ganga, it has been polluted with human dead bodies. In the last 5,000 years history of India, this is a worst situation, a crucial situation. BJP has proved their inability and incompetency in terms of ruling and facing the situation of COVID pandemic and COVID battle. What is the way out? Praful Koda is the way out. Lakshadweep is the way out. Who is Praful Koda? Praful Koda is from Gujarat. He is not mere Gujarati. He formerly the Home Minister under the then Chief Minister of Gujarat, Narendra Modi. He has introduced as Administrator of the Lakshadweep on last December 5, on the day onwards, the trouble started. He introduced an LDA, Land Development Authority. It brings a power, absolute power to the authority for even to take over the land from the native people without any consultation, without any permission. What is the intention? This is not in favor of the native people, this is in favor of the corporate community. And for the land grab, then introducing the Gunda Act, a person will be detained at any time without any justification, and to inform the public, not to inform the public up to 1 year. So Lakshadweep is going to be collapsed. Its culture, tradition and the unique identity of that territory. You please understand, what is the motive? The motive is one, a business motive, a corporate interest. We are bringing the entire nation to a specific point. Lakshadweep issue is not a communal issue. Giving a communal color to Lakshadweep is a BJP agenda. We will never run into that trap. We will never run into that BJP agenda. So we Muslim Youth League are strongly demanding to call back and to bring back Praful Koda from the chair and from the office of the administrator. We Muslim Youth League are strongly demanding to cut down the entire anti-people laws. We will go with this campaign the next days by protesting and campaigning, and you please join with us. We will be there on the floor for the sake of the Lakshadweep lives. Thank you.
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। सबको अस्सलाम वालेकुम वरहमतुल्लाहि तआला वबरकातुहू। आज मुस्लिम यूथ लीग नेशनल कमेटी के अंदर शेव लक्षद्वीप लीव्स, लक्षद्वीप में इश्यू के अंदर पैनल डिस्कशन ऑनलाइन जूम प्लेटफॉर्म के अंदर अभी चल रहा है। इसी में चीफ गेस्ट एनवायरमेंटल एक्टिविटीज मैडम मेहता पटकर पार्टिसिपेट हुआ, इनको शुक्रिया करता हूं। इसी में मुस्लिम लीग लीडर्स, डिप्टी ऑपोजिशन लीडर ऑफ केरला UML PK कुंगालकुटी साहिब, ET मोहम्मद बशीर शाह मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट UML, अब्दुल समद समदानी साहिब मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट UML, and Lakshadweep Parliament member of Parliament Muhammad Faisal PP, Lakshadweep ex-MP Muhammad Hamdullah Saeed, and Muslim League leaders Sayyid Munawar Ali Shihab Tangal, Muslim Youth League leader of Kerala, Dr. Munir Manif Khan and M. Naushad, writer, Muralidharan, documentary photographer, and Alif Jalil, सबको धन्यवाद करता हूं। और इसी में अंदर हजार लोग आदमी के अंदर ऑनलाइन में इसी प्रोग्राम में शेयर कर रहा है। पूरा देश में लक्षद्वीप में साथ में है, इसलिए नेशनल एग्जीक्यूटिव मेंबर्स, ऑफिस बेरर्स, मुस्लिम लीग लीडर्स सबको धन्यवाद शुक्रिया करता हूं। पूरा देश में लक्षद्वीप में साथ में हूं। जय हिंद, जय हिंद, जय हिंद।